Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at the 2010 Ford Crown Victoria Factory Service Manual.
The Bible for any serious Crown Vic owner.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you are gonna work on your Crown Vic,
Yeah.
you are gonna need this thing.
Yeah, if you want to go beyond, just the basics.
And I mean, we're gonna go way beyond the basics this time.
Yep.
We are gonna try and uncover some of the secrets.
Hidden deep inside this beast of a book.
Yeah, and we're gonna start with something that everyone sees, but almost no one really understands.
The VIN.
The VIN. I always thought it was just like a random string of numbers and letters.
Yeah, I mean, it looks
Yeah.
that way, but actually every single one of those 17 digits
Yeah.
has a very specific meaning.
17 digits.
17 digits, yep.
Yeah.
And the manual says it's stamped on the instrument panel and on the vehicle certification label.
Okay, so it's like a secret code almost.
Exactly. Like a secret language for car people.
Yeah.
And if you know how to read it, it can tell you a lot about the car.
So like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so the first three digits are called the World Manufacturer Identifier, or WMI.
Catchy.
And for this Crown Vic, the WMI is 2FA, which tells us that it was made in Canada.
So every Crown Vic has that same WMI?
No. Every manufacturer has their own unique WMI code.
So like Ford's is going to be different from Chevy's?
Exactly.
Huh, okay.
Okay.
So knowing my Crown Vic was made in Canada, is there something I can do with that information?
Oh, absolutely. Like if you're looking for parts or even a mechanic, who specializes in Crown Vics, it could be useful to know that it was built to Canadian specs.
Interesting. Okay, so the VIN is the first page of the manual. And what's next? What else are we diving into today?
Well, how about we talk about something you don't usually see in a regular car manual?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
A
about.
fire suppression system.
Okay, I have to admit, when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't Fast and Furious.
Right. It sounds a bit like an action movie.
But it's all about safety.
It is. It's designed to put out fires that might start in certain parts of the car.
Like around the gas tank or something?
Yeah, exactly. And the manual's full of warnings about working around the system. Like, you got to be really careful with that backup power supply.
Yeah, it sounds kind of dangerous.
It can be if it goes off accidentally. It could hurt someone. That's why they have these special tools to, prevent static electricity from triggering it.
Wow. Connector shorting bars, they call them.
Yeah, those things. Serious business.
Okay, so no messing around with the fire suppression system without, proper training and all that.
Definitely not.
Got it. But it's still pretty cool that a regular car has something like that.
Oh, yeah. It's impressive.
Yeah.
It just shows how much thought goes into safety these days.
Okay, so we talked about the VIN, we talked about the fire suppression system. What's next?
Well, this is a topic that I think everyone can relate to.
Ooh, let me guess.
Those annoying noises that your car makes.
Oh, yeah. The squeaks and rattles.
The thunks.
Thunks.
Never heard that one.
Yeah, thunks. I don't know why, but that's what they call it in the manual.
Okay, well, thunks too. So, what are we supposed to do about those? Just ignore them. Well, there's actually a whole science dedicated to figuring out how to get rid of those noises.
Okay.
It's called NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness.
So there are engineers who spend their days just listening to cars make weird noises.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have all these crazy tools to do it, like this thing called the engineer.
Engineer! That's amazing.
I know, right? It's basically like a super sensitive microphone that can pinpoint exactly where a noise is coming from.
And then what? Once they know where it's coming from?
Then they got to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
And that's where the vibration analyzers come in.
Oh, so it's like they're trying to isolate the specific vibration that's causing the noise.
Exactly. And the manual describes all these different tests they do, like the slow acceleration test and the steering input test.
I can't believe there's a whole section dedicated to how to make a car quieter.
Well, I mean, it's important. You think about it. No one wants to drive around in a car that's constantly making weird noises.
True. That would get old fast.
Yeah, and it can actually be a sign of a bigger problem sometimes.
Okay, I'm starting to see the importance of NVH now. It's not just about comfort. It's about, making sure the car is running properly.
Exactly. See, there's a lot more to it than you might think.
Oh, well, so far so good. We've learned about the VIN, the fire suppression system, and NVH. What's next on our deep dive agenda?
How about we talk about something a little more hands-on?
DIY projects? You mean fixing things myself?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because the Crown Vic manual is actually surprisingly DIY friendly.
Really? I thought these factory service manuals were only for professional mechanics.
Well, they are very technical, but they also have a lot of information that's useful for the average car owner.
So what kind of projects are we talking about here?
Well, it depends on your skill level. They have everything from simple adjustments to more involved repairs.
Give me an example of a simple one.
Okay, so like adjusting the luggage compartment lid striker.
The what?
It's the thing that the trunk lid latches onto.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Huh.
So, like, if your trunk isn't closing properly, you could adjust that yourself.
Exactly. And it's actually a pretty easy fix. The manual walks you through it step by step.
Cool. And what about something a little more challenging?
Well, how about replacing a door trim panel?
Ooh, that sounds kind of hard.
It's not too bad, actually. The manual has really detailed instructions and diagrams.
Okay. I might be able to handle that. And they even have instructions for really complex stuff, like sectioning the front frame rails.
Yeah, that's definitely not for beginners.
Yeah.
But it's in there if you're feeling ambitious.
I think I'll leave that one to the professionals. But it's pretty amazing that they even include stuff like that in the manual.
Yeah, it's a testament to how thorough these manuals are. They really do cover everything.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today. VIN fire suppression system, NVH DIY projects, but there's still so much more to explore in this massive manual.
Oh, yeah. We've only just scratched the surface.
So be sure to join us for part 2 of our deep dive into the 2010 Ford Crown Victoria Factory Service Manual, where we'll delve even deeper into the inner workings of this iconic car.
We'll be taking a look at the electrical system, diagnosing problems, and even uncovering some more secrets hidden within these pages.
So buckle up and get ready for another fascinating ride.
See you next time. All right, so are you ready to jump back into the world of the Crown Vic?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. What are we tackling today?
Well, we covered a lot of the exciting stuff in part 1, so how about we shift gears to something a little more routine?
Routine? You mean like the stuff most people just skip over in the manual?
Exactly, like oil changes, tire rotations, that kind of thing.
Okay, but how is that going to be interesting?
Because believe it or not, even those routine maintenance tasks can actually reveal some fascinating insights into the engineering of a vehicle like the Crown Victoria.
Okay, I'll bite. What kind of insights are we talking about?
Well, for starters, did you know that it's not just a simple every 3,000 miles rule anymore for oil changes?
Really? I thought that was like the golden rule.
Nope, not anymore.
Yeah.
The manual actually takes into account all sorts of factors like towing, driving in extreme temperatures, even something called idle hours.
Idle hours? Is that like how long I've been sitting here talking to you?
Not quite. It refers to the amount of time the engine is running, but the car isn't moving. Like when you're stuck in traffic.
Oh, okay. So why does that matter for oil changes?
Because extended idling can put extra wear and tear on the engine. The oil isn't circulating as effectively, so it breaks down faster.
So if I'm spending a lot of time in stop-and-go traffic, I might need to change my oil more often.
Yeah, exactly. The manual actually has a formula for calculating an idle hour mileage equivalency.
That's pretty cool. It's like they're trying to make sure you're changing your oil at the optimal time no matter how you drive.
Precisely. It's all about maximizing the life of the engine.
Okay, I'm convinced. No more skipping those oil changes for me. But what about some of the more challenging maintenance tasks, like replacing a windshield? Does the manual cover that?
It does. And it goes into a surprising amount of detail.
Really? Like what?
Well, for example, it talks about preparing the new windshield, applying a special glass primer, using the right type of urethane adhesive.
Urethane adhesive. Sounds intense.
It is. They even have a specific warning to open the car windows before you position the windshield
Why?
to prevent air pressure from building up and messing up the adhesive bond.
Wow, I never would have thought of that.
See? There's a lot more to it than you might think. It's all about precision and craftsmanship.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this manual is so thick. They don't miss a single detail.
Nope. They want to make sure you have all the information you need to do the job right.
Well, speaking of details, there's one section in this manual that really caught my eye.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The one on body and frame repairs, like replacing fenders, sectioning frame rails, that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. The heavy-duty stuff.
Yeah, the manual even talks about removing entire body panels.
It's pretty amazing, right? It's like they're assuming you have your own personal auto body shop.
Oh, I definitely don't have all the equipment they're talking about in here.
Yeah. You'd need a lot more than just a basic toolkit to tackle those kinds of repairs.
They really emphasize safety, too, like making sure the vehicle is properly supported before you start cutting or welding anything.
Absolutely. Safety is paramount, especially when you're dealing with structural repairs.
And they also talk about the importance of understanding the different materials used in modern cars.
Right, because the Crown Victoria, like many cars these days, uses a combination of high-strength steel aluminum and even some composites.
And each material needs to be treated differently.
Exactly. You can't just weld any two pieces of metal together anymore.
So, like, if I had to replace a fender, would I need to know what kind of metal it's made of?
Yes. The manual actually has a chart that outlines the types of repairs that are allowed for each material.
So it's not just about following the steps, you have to understand the materials too.
Exactly. It's a lot more complex than it used to be.
Okay, I think I'll leave the frame rail sectioning to the experts. But it's pretty amazing that they even include that level of detail in the manual.
Yeah, it's a great resource even if you're not planning on doing those kinds of repairs yourself.
It's like a window into the world of professional auto body work.
Exactly. You get to see what goes into restoring a car back to its original condition.
Okay, so we've talked about routine maintenance and some of the more advanced body and frame stuff.
Right.
What else is on the agenda for today?
Well, how about we take a look at a part of the car that we often take for granted?
Hmm, let me guess. The engine.
Nope.
Even
Yeah.
more basic than that.
The wheels.
Nope, keep going.
The seats.
Ding, ding, ding. The seats.
Really? What's so interesting about seats?
Well, you gotta remember, the Crown Victoria was often used as a police car and a taxi ride.
Yeah.
So those drivers spent hours and hours behind the wheel. Comfort and durability were essential.
Okay, I see your point.
Ah.
So what does the manual say about the seats?
Well, it covers everything from adjusting the seat position to the actual construction of the seats themselves.
Construction, you mean like what's inside them?
Yeah, it describes the materials, the frame design, even the location of all the different components.
Like the seat position sensor and the side airbags. Exactly. It's all integrated into the seat design.
Makes sense. I never really thought about it that way.
And it even includes instructions for disassembling and reassembling the seats.
Why would you need to do that?
Well, maybe you need to replace a worn-out cushion or repair a broken mechanism.
Huh. I guess that makes sense. It's like they thought of everything.
They did. And that's what makes this manual so fascinating. It's a testament to the level of engineering and attention to detail that goes into every aspect of a car.
Okay, I'm officially impressed. But we've still got a lot more ground to cover in this deep dive, right?
Oh, yeah. We're just getting started.
So be sure to join us for part 3, where we'll be exploring the Crown Vic's safety systems, diagnostic procedures, and much, much more.
It's going to be a wild ride, so buckle up.
All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the 2010 Ford Crown Victoria Factory Service Manual.
And we're finishing strong with one of the most important aspects of car repair.
Diagnostics. It's like being a detective trying to solve the mystery of what's wrong with your car.
Exactly. And this manual is our trusty guide. It's got everything we need to figure out what's going on.
One thing that really stood out to me was the emphasis on using a scan tool. It seems like that's become an essential tool for modern car repair.
Oh, absolutely. Modern cars are so reliant on electronics.
Yeah.
You know, all those computers and sensors, and a scan tool is how you communicate with them.
So it's like a translator for your car's brain.
It's a great way to put it. The scan tool allows you to retrieve diagnostic trouble codes, DTCs, which are basically messages from the car's computer telling you what's wrong.
So instead of just guessing, you get these specific codes that point you in the right direction.
Exactly. Makes things a lot easier.
The manual has a whole section on how to use the scan tool, right?
Yeah. It walks you through how to connect it, how to enter different diagnostic modes, and how to interpret the data.
So it's like having a secret decoder ring for your car.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And it even helps you figure out what those DTCs mean. Like, what's the potential cause and what are the possible solutions?
That's super helpful.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to need to invest in a scan tool.
It's a good investment, especially if you plan on doing any of your own repairs.
So speaking of repairs, there's a whole section in here on diagnosing problems with the anti-theft system, which I guess is pretty important for a car like the Crown Vic.
Yeah, especially since they were often used as police cars, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want someone just walking off with a cop car.
Right. So what kind of problems can happen with the anti-theft system?
Oh, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Faulty sensors, problems with the key fobs, even issues with the programming.
So if I ever lose my keys, I could potentially program a new one myself using this manual.
Maybe. It depends on the specific system.
Yeah.
But the manual does have instructions on how to do that.
I might need some help with that one. But it's cool to know that it's possible.
It is. It's all about empowering yourself, you know.
Right. So we've talked about the scan tool and the anti-theft system. What other kind of diagnostic challenges does this manual cover?
Well, how about something a little more relatable like the air conditioning system?
Oh, yeah. It's getting hot out there. I definitely don't want my AC going out.
The manual's got you covered. It walks you through how to check the refrigerant levels, how to inspect the compressor and condenser, and even how to use a special gauge set to measure the pressures.
Sounds complicated.
It can be, but the manual breaks it down into manageable steps.
I'm sensing a theme here. This manual seems to be really good at breaking down complex stuff into something that's easier to understand.
That's what makes it so great. It's like having a personal mechanic guiding you through every step of the process.
Well, speaking of personal mechanics, there's one more section I wanted to touch on before we wrap up, the one about the side impact sensors.
Oh yeah, those are crucial for safety, especially in a car that might see some action on the streets.
Right. So, are the sensors in a Crown Vic any different from the ones in a regular car?
Well, the basic technology is the same. They're designed to detect the severity of an impact and then send a signal to the airbag control module.
Okay, but the Crown Vic manual does mention something about police-specific sensors, right?
Yeah, because those cars were often outfitted with heavy equipment and modifications, which could affect how the car behaves in a crash.
So the sensors might need to be calibrated differently.
Exactly. And the manual has specific instructions for diagnosing and troubleshooting those police-specific systems.
Wow, they really did think of everything, didn't they?
They did. And that's what makes this manual such an incredible resource. It's like a complete guide to understanding and maintaining the Crown Victoria.
Well, I think it's safe to say we've officially explored every nook and cranny of this 2010 Ford Crown Victoria Factory Service Manual.
We've decoded VINs, battled electrical gremlins, and even learned how to diagnose a faulty fire suppression system.
Who knew there was so much to learn about this iconic car?
It's been a wild ride, and I hope our deep dive has inspired you to take a closer look at your own car manuals.
Absolutely. They're a treasure trove of information, and they can really empower you to understand and take care of your vehicle.
So next time you hear a strange noise or encounter a problem with your car,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to grab that manual and start exploring.
You might just surprise yourself with what you can learn and what you can fix. And on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off.
Until next time, keep on driving and keep on learning.